Okay. The January 17th meeting of Upper Darby Township Council is called to order. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. And a moment of silence for prisoners of war and missing in action. Okay. Rules of meeting decorum. I'm sorry. Secretary Billups, can we have a roll call vote? Can we have an attendance, please?
Yeah. Sorry. Counselor Wagner? Here. Counselor Brandis? Here. Counselor Andrusco?
Here.
Counselor Blackwell? Here. Counselor Heyman?
Here.
Counselor Banto?
Yes.
President Tunis?
Here.
Secretary Billups is here. Counselor Minnick?
Here.
Counselor Silver is excused. Counselor Wentz?
Here.
And we have, in addition, we have our Honorable Mayor Ed Brown. We have our Solicitors Kilkenny and Marcini, Acting CAO Dobbins, Ms. Ballas, who is serving in the role of Municipal Clerk. We have Treasurer Heyman. We have officers. I can't see. Hey, Officer Bateman. We have Officer O'Gara. We have Sergeant Lou Garra. He's outside. Okay. And of course, all of our lovely residents of Upper Darby.
Thank you.
Oh, I missed Monahan. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. My apologies.
Thank you, Secretary Billups.
On my list.
This is the time set aside for the public to speak. When you hear your name, please come up to the microphone and state your name and the address for the record. As noted on the agenda, Upper Darby residents have the opportunity to speak for 3 minutes. Residents are prohibited from making threats, using profanity, or acting in a manner that would impede or prevent the conduct of business of the meeting. Any person who attends the meeting and makes remarks, disrupts, or otherwise impedes the orderly conduct of the meeting after receiving a verbal warning may be required to leave the meeting at the discretion of the council president. Public forum should not exceed 30 minutes. As you are aware, residents have the opportunity to speak for 3 minutes. If a resident chooses to ask questions, they are voluntarily giving up their time for a response. This means that the 3-minute timer will continue to run no matter who is speaking. The timer will be clearly displayed on the screen.
Please, no speaking from the audience. Listen to the council president. Thank you.
As previously stated, we're going to give you 1 warning, a 2nd warning, and then it's up to the council president's discretion. When you're called up, the person that is written on a sign-in sheet is the person that's supposed to be at the podium, okay? Secretary Billups?
Yes. First is Justin Cohen.
Center button. There we go. All right. Thank you. Good evening once again, everyone. Justin Cohen, 7218 Brent Road, Upper Darby. I'm here to introduce myself to some and reintroduce myself to others. Most of you probably know me. I have an information packet about what I do as far as the veterans here in Delaware County and Upper Darby, please humor me and take one of these because I spent good money and make me feel good like I actually did something, if that's okay.
Mr. Cohen, you can
yes.
give that to Nancy Barlas.
All right, thank you, sir. Mr. President, thank you for taking a time for a moment of silence for POW and MIA. I appreciate it, and all veterans appreciate it. After you receive this information, just to let you know, Mr. Mayor and Council, I am here at your service for anything that you need relative to veterans in Upper Darby and Delaware County. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next is Joanne Namabog.
Joanne Namavang. I'm here tonight to speak about several things. The first thing is the audit report. I ask this almost every meeting. When will the audit report be completed for 2022? Thank you. At the January 10th meeting last week, we were told it was finished. When will it be presented to council and the public? What is the reason for the holdup? Please don't try to blame the auditor, which has been done in the past, because speaking from experience, that is never the case. It was due April 1st, 2023, so we are now, 9-10 months late. Secondly, ARPA allocation ordinances passed in July and August of 2023. They were passed 11-0 with some of you members that are sitting here on council, and they were never signed by the former mayor. I'm going to read from the Home Rule Charter, C 403, powers and responsibilities of the mayor. The mayor, in addition to any other power and responsibilities provided in this charter, shall B, execute and enforce all laws, ordinances, and resolutions, and C, that they are faithfully obeyed. Ordinances, section C 702. Effective date of ordinances are anything passed by council but neither approved nor vetoed by the mayor shall become effective 15 days after the last day in which the mayor can approve or veto such ordinance or at any later date specified within the ordinance. This is now your obligation, Mr. Mayor Ed Brown, to see that these are enforced. In June 2022, Mr. Minnick was here at this podium with a group of his friends demanding that the ARPA funds be released. They have been allocated, they've been voted on. Who is holding them up now? Now, a code of ethics has been, I did an RTK for the period 2020 through late 2023. Why is it that Allison Dobbins, who in 2020 at the reorganization meeting was named the special event coordinator, she was approved by council then, and then apparently sometime in 2022 was being called the deputy CAO, and then in 2023 January, the acting CAO. Why is it that she doesn't have to sign one? Article 8 of the Municipal Code, all council persons, the mayor and CAO, all department heads, and the township treasurer, before commencing their official duties, shall affirm a code of ethics. And also, the conviction of a crime, 737, any person convicted of a crime of offense involving moral turpitude shall, for a period of 10 years, be ineligible to assume any municipal elected or appointed office. Barbara Ann Keffer was convicted by taking ARD of drunk driving. She should not hold a position in this administration. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is John Vazari.
Good evening, John Vazari. I just want to set the record straight from last week's meeting when I stood up at the budget hearing meeting and spoke about $76,000 in funds that were allocated to the vaccine, the COVID vaccine incentive. And then during that meeting, it was said that that wasn't the case. But during that meeting, I did meet with Diane Scuddy and showed her that through the RTK that I received back in September, there was a line item to the essential workers COVID vaccine incentive for $76,000. Now, Diane did point out that it was an error and it should have been on the premium pay. which I can wholly accept that error, but then it leads me to the path of, we had 30 entries in 2023 for the premium pay that were allocated to that line item from January to June. And it was showing up on the COVID vaccine line item up until August, and somehow it changed afterwards. So my concern is around the lack of adequate controls in place for our finances, which was mentioned by the firm that did and conducted our audits. And nothing against Diane, because Diane's been great. I don't think that has anything to do with her. My next question, this is a question, and Mayor Brown, I know that Joanne just spoke about those ARPA ordinances. So my question about those ordinances was, has any of that money been expended since the time that they were approved and up until December 31st, 2023?
I can, not since I've taken office, nothing has been expended yet. So as I stated at the last meeting, everything is being reviewed and looked at, so no decisions have been made as far as that. So I can't speak to anything that was decided or allocated before I took office at this time, but I'm looking at everything and, going to make decisions
Okay.
based
So
on the priorities.
Thank you. On 12/29, there was a wire transfer from the ARPA account for $32,000 and some odd cents for the purchase of a property at 3620 Garrett Road, and was allocated to one of the business district's ARPA ordinances for Garrett. So questioning why this happened, if these were held up.
Allison, do you want to answer? I may be mistaken.
I'm sorry, I was helping them with some streaming issues. The Garrett Road property, I'm sorry, what was the?
Approved by the prior mayor. She approved what the question is. The question is, were ARPA funds used to purchase that property? I think that's the question, right? Were ARPA funds
Well,
used to purchase
the
that
question was,
property?
were the ARPA funds for those ordinances ever expended, for those 11 ordinances that the mayor never signed, but became legal because of the time frame that she failed to sign? And it appears that there were funds expended for the business district. So why is there a choice?
Yes. Diane, I'm sorry, do you have the report with you?
I have just a budget report. I don't know if I'm 100% clear on what the 11 ordinances are, but yes, certainly there was a recent purchase of land against,
Yeah, so you're asking specifically about the purchase of the expenditure from the, I think it was the ordinance related to the economic.
Mr. Vazzari, I think I understand your question. I will get that answer for you. You're asking about the ordinances that were allocated that were not expended. You're asking if the purchase of that property came from that. I will get that answer for you. I understand your question.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Brian Taylor.
Good evening, everyone. Brian Sharif Taylor, my address is 7258 Lamport Road. Just got a few things to go over with. Our monthly hybrid virtual meeting will only be online this month. It will be on Microsoft Teams. The meeting ID is 2490361676636 with the passcode of 3 Charlie Alpha Romeo Uniform Echo. On the 27th of this month, along with State Representative Curry, we will be having a veteran luncheon at the Upper Darby American Legion Post 214 from 11 to 1, where we're going to show the film A Journey Home. Once again, I was asking our leadership within our community to actually sit down and enjoy the film. And we had a little discrepancies last time, but just come down and actually take time and hear what we're actually offering and how it can benefit everyone. Lastly, everyone is up to date about the warming center that we are currently running at the Upper Darby American Legion Post. Just blink if you know what I'm talking about. Okay. We're seeing an influx of unhoused individuals from the Philadelphia area. A lot of them are coming in scared and fearful, and whatever's being served on the streets is getting stronger. And just for a simple $5, you can probably get the best high that you have ever received in your lifetime. I implore each and every individual who actually cares about this community, come on over with us and have a sleepover. I don't care if it's an hour. I don't care if it's 30 minutes or 3 hours. If you want to learn about some of the things that are attacking our community, along with attacking our families, and also putting additional stress on your police department, it's actually good for you to have a street view of things. I'm doing for time. 50 seconds. We want to move forward in the future. I would like to bring a veteran resource fairs to come down here, but within the past, there's always been a lot of issues and stuff that slowed up things. I'm asking you, don't want to say that I'm telling you, but these are things that need to be done. We are still dealing with a tremendous rate of suicide between veterans, family members, females, and well, we just believe in inspiring, educating, and just basic small conversations so we can actually learn and build. 10, 9, 8. Oh, can I get an answer? Who might come to the event on the 27th or might come down to the warming center? 1. Anybody else? All right. Talk to you later.
Thank you.
3 minutes.
Next is John DeMasi.
Good evening, John DeMasi. Mr. Mayor, referring back to the ordinance of 3143 that's been mentioned to end the home rule charter, I understand, especially from the answers you gave last time and that you gave tonight, that you're reviewing what to do with that ordinance. Mr. Mayor, I would ask, in light of what the home rule charter says, the Pennsylvania first class township law says, and what the federal law says regarding those ARPA funds and the ordinance, what empowers you with any authority not to enforce them as they were approved when they passed without a veto from the prior mayor?
When I have something to report on those, I will let you know. There's nothing, I have no answer for you right now. So my answer that I've given previously stands on its own. I'm looking at everything. I've been the mayor for, I think, 2 weeks, less than 2 weeks maybe. So I don't have an answer for that now. So,
Mr. Mayor, that I understand your answer, but that does not answer my question. My question is, what empowers you, what gives you the authorization to make that change to that ordinance that was lawfully passed? It should have gone into effect immediately as per the ordinance, which means that those fire stations should have gotten that money immediately. There is no provision in the ordinance that says at a future date, a future mayor may review to decide to fund or not fund. That is not a part of the ARPA language either. So once again, I would ask you, what in the home rule charter, Pennsylvania First Class Township Code, any law anywhere gives you the ability to do a de facto veto on any prior passed ordinance? Thank you very much. I appreciate your time. One last thing, because I haven't have a minute. I briefly saw some of the work that Mr. Taylor's doing. I would strongly recommend that the members of council do take a moment, take him up on that offer. I saw Ms. Wentz there. They do, it actually almost made me cry when I was there. They do incredible work, and please take advantage of that. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Olivia Taylor.
Olivia Taylor, 204 Kent Road, First of all, first and foremost, I want to thank the people who reached out to me at the last meeting because there were some things that was brought to my attention when I was up at this podium of how YouTube has cut my time short and allowed other people to continue to speak after 3 minutes. Noticed you have a clock up there now. I have one on my camera back there. What I want to say to you is like, we are the residents of Upper Darby. Okay, because you're the president of council does not give you the right to dictate to us what we can and cannot say. I think you ought to, no, I advise you to go and look at the New York State versus Sullivan case based on the First Amendment. That's a landmark case, okay? I have every right to critique you, and whatever you may seem hurtful to you is protected speech. All right, all this about warnings, we're not kids. We are the residents and the taxpayers of this township, and I will not be dictated by you or anyone up there. With that being said, I saw one salt truck in one of the 6 biggest municipalities in Upper Darby. I spoke about this back in October. We needed salt trucks. How come I only saw one truck that was on Marshall Road? So what about the other township, the other parts of the township? Were they salted?
I'm not sure how you looked at the entire township and saw everything.
I'm just
from-
saying, that's
from
what I'm
your view.
asking.
You said you
Where's
saw
the other
one, so
part of the
We will
township
be providing
salted?
a snow update, as part of the mayor's message, so that will be answered, okay?
The truck that I saw, the whole back end was rotted out. You want to vote in here to raise our taxes, but the taxes we pay for trucks and the services that are provided from this township. And yet, I saw one truck to cover the 6th district. Are you kidding me? And we about to have another snowstorm Friday. Nothing? No, that was not an answer. I'm asking you, did you get new trucks? Is the township safe? Is our first responders safe? Is the kids, the school buses, are we safe? Yes or no? That is an important question. We pay for these services, and yet you can't give me an answer. I got 22 seconds left, and I'm gonna stand right here until it's done.
Acting CAO Dobbins, do you have a response? Yeah.
I'm sorry, what was that?
Before, as part of the mayor's message, we'll have a weather update and we'll talk about things like that. So we'll address it when it's time. You'll hear it.
Thank you. That's my 3 minutes.
Next is Becky Duggan.
So Becky Duggan, I'm just going to start off really quickly with a comment I received.
Can we
Yeah,
clock,
reset
please?
my time. Can we reset my time? Okay, all right, whatever. So I'm going to start off with a comment that I received from somebody who's watching at home from YouTube. This is so ridiculous on YouTube. All they show is a huge clock timing the speakers and not showing the speakers nor council members. Okay, so that's what's going on tonight. So at the last meeting, a resident, Cynthia Isles, got up, because I get up every week and speak for police funding and getting more officers on the street. And her force was, we need to have community activity for the young people before police officers need to get involved. So in that vein, I want to know, actually, I don't want to know, I don't want any answers because I don't want my time interrupted. You can answer me during your mayor's message or whoever else's message. The community center, everybody got up here and spoke about how great it was going to be and it was going to be a place for kids to go and activities. It died, so there's a fail. The youth program at Barclay Square for the children. That's an ordinance that the mayor is reevaluating whether it's worthwhile. Got it. I find that to be extremely disingenuous. Andrew, you voted yes on those ordinances. Michelle, you voted yes. Hafiz, you voted yes. And Laura, you voted yes. And Danielle, you voted yes. Brian, you voted yes. Megan, you voted yes. All you people that are still sitting here on council, how do you feel about the new mayor just going to be disregarding what you had put into action, what you had asked for. I guess nobody cares about whether the kids have anywhere to go. Nobody cares if there's anything to do for them. Okay. On another note, I see that there's 4 officers, 2 in the back, 2 right here in the front that are new being up in the front. I would really like to see this many officers on my street. For this size room, we need this many people. I mean, kind of a little bit ridiculous. You know, I ask every week, you know, do we have a sufficient number of officers on the street for this size municipality? And I understand the number of officers that gets counted, it's about 131, but that includes command staff and not just officers, boots on the ground. So I'm yet again going to advocate for that. I'm going to advocate for the community center. I'm going to advocate for the music youth program in Barclay Square, and I'm going to advocate for additional police officers. As a siren goes by right now. So, thank you. And the fire department. All right, I'll just stand up here for my whole 3 minutes then. That's fine. So anybody wants to answer any of those questions, you can answer any of those questions now.
Yeah.
Oh, my time's up.
Thank you, Ms. Duggan.
Thank you. Next, next is Rich Bly.
Rich Bly, 6914 Chestnut Street. The Jimmy Project Warming Center for Veterans in the Unhoused Community, American Legion, Upper Darby, Post 214.
Mr. Bly.
Mr. Bly, we'll stop the time. Was that, is that an address? Do you live in Upper Darby?
Sir, according to the Home Rule Charter, those who have business, and I am the commander of that American Legion post. I am the installed commander of the Sons of the American Legion. Yes, sir. That is my address. I actually sleep there, and I'm about to read why I sleep there. I actually live there. Absolutely, I do, because I have to help with the warming center. Absolutely. Now, can I keep going?
So you.
Mr. Kilkenny, you have no standing. Talk to the president. The president talks to me. You don't run
Mr.
this.
Bly, please allow Mr. Solicitor to finish.
We're not trying to deprive you of your ability to talk for 3 minutes.
Excuse me, Mr. Kilkenny, you have taken away my rights. You have taken away my rights.
Mr.
time
Bly,
after
please
time
allow him to
again.
continue.
Time
We're gonna
after
allow you
time
to talk.
again. Time after time again, Mr. Kilkenny, you have taken away my rights and reinstated them. You told me I couldn't speak, and then you came back here with Brian Burke, the president, and said that I could speak. Now
Mr.
you're
Bly.
trying to stop me from speaking again. Which one is it? How many times you going to violate this black man's rights? And then you
Mr.
want to
Bly.
bring the police up here?
Mr. Bly, so you're saying you're a resident of Upper Darby, and you're saying you reside at the American.
I conduct business in Upper Darby Township as the commander of the Sons of the American Legion at 6914 Chestnut Street.
Sir, so your position is, just so I'm clear, is that the Upper Darby American Legion is a business?
It absolutely is.
Okay. Well,
It absolutely
I
is.
spoke to the council president.
Uh-huh.
And what we're going to do is allow you to speak 3 minutes here. That's your position. We'll research the issue and get back to you.
Yeah. You're going to lose again. All right? Now, start my time over so I can read it right. The Jimmy Project Warming Center for Veterans and the Unhoused Community, American Legion, Upper Darby, Post 214 at 6914 Upper Darby, where I'm the commander of the Sons of the American Legion. Cowards. The contact information for Code Blue Knights is 267-940-870. You can contact my brother. We house those that are drug addicted when you're supposed to do this job under the charter. You're so worried about me doing stuff. When you going to get yourselves together and do your actual job under the law? You're supposed to take care of the homeless. It's in your charter. You're supposed to make sure that they're off the streets. It's in your charter. But we got regular citizens that contribute every single day by feeding those who cannot feed themselves and keeping them safe. It's very cowardly of each and every individual up here to try to stop my speech because I'm a black man speaking and I ain't afraid of none of you. None of you. But I see that you're absolutely terrified of me. Be scared. Stay scared. Let's get something straight, Mr. Tunis. last year you said you didn't have to support me in order to support Juneteenth. But do you remember this resolution that was signed by the former mayor and Raji Young? Do you remember that? Do you remember this resolution that has my name in it? Do you remember that my name is in the law of Pennsylvania in the Senate? Each time you discriminate against me, I want you to. I don't want you to do a damn thing for me, sir. But I do want you to discriminate against me. I want it to be on record. I want you to keep coming for me. I want people to understand something. I'm always prepared for whatever you got. And Mr. Kilkenny, I took a trip to Jenkintown. I took a trip to Abington. I skipped over Norristown because that's irrelevant now. You are absolutely amazing, cuz. You are absolutely amazing. You discriminated against those who were trying to preserve the Underground Railroad in Norristown. I guess, you know, a great business deal when you see one. So you were going to raise it and put a housing project or some type of project on it, and it failed, and they got $3 million in order to keep it. That shows that people like you absolutely hate Black people. That's who you are. Yeah, that's your record. You know it. But anyway, which one of y'all gonna come spend the night over at the American Legion? I promise I'll keep my cot away from you guys. Which one of y'all wanna come over there and absolutely see the havoc that's wrecked inside of this township? And officers, stop talking to them. Come talk to us. We got the street knowledge. They don't know nothing, idiots.
Thank you. Next is Judy Duggan.
Good evening, Judy Duggan. I would like to follow up on something that Joanne was asking about. Where is the 2022 audit that is now 9 months late? So I got time. I can wait for somebody to tell me that, because somebody said last week that it was done. I think it was Diane told us. It's done. So can we see it?
Ms. Scotty or Acting CAO Dobbins?
I didn't say it was done. I said it would be done, we would receive it this week. VVD, our audit firm, is working on it. I spoke to him yesterday. I said, will I receive it this week? And he said, can I have until Monday? And I said, yes. So I would expect that we will receive it very shortly.
I'm sorry, what?
It will be posted to the website.
Do you want to talk in the mic?
Oh, yeah, well, it was supposed to be by Thanksgiving, and now it's not after Christmas and after New Year, and maybe by Valentine's Day, who knows? Then I just don't understand why that's not done, because the 2023 audit needs to be done by April this year. So, I'm sorry? A management letter? I don't know what I'm supposed to say. Did you get the management letter from the auditor? Did you get the management letter from the auditor? Is that what it is? Okay. Did you get the management letter from the auditor?
The audit was presented, the 22 audit was presented to the council in last fall.
Oh. And when will the residents be able to see it? I thought it wasn't done yet. I'm really confused.
That was at a council meeting by VVD, by our audit.
But it wasn't done. And it's still not done, you just said.
It was the final draft was presented to them.
And that was in the fall, and they still don't have the whole thing done yet?
It's a complicated process.
I know, I used to do it. It's not that complicated. Yeah, there's a date that it has to be done by. And it's not done, and now 23 is going to be late, I'm sure. So the financial situation in this township, I believe we could all agree, every one of us, is dire. It's not good. And when we keep pushing off problems and ignoring the situation and pretending and burying our head in the sand and not looking at the audit and not caring about the money, it's no way to get out of your situation. It's no way to help. We have to face reality, get the audit done, find out where the money was lost, stolen, whatever, and get it straightened out. Thank you. Oh, I got 30 seconds. Oh, somebody else, I don't know. I got nothing.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
That will conclude public comment. Next, the next item on the agenda is our Honorable Mayor Edward Brown.
Thank you, President Tunis. Good evening. I realize that the snow and ice is what is on everyone's mind, so I'd like to start by asking Acting CAO, Ms. Dobbins, to provide an update on the winter weather.
Thank you, Mayor Brown. So yeah, the first snow over an inch in 2 years, and it was a good one, right? The township relies basically on a combination of data and works closely with 2 neighboring townships on snow response. So Monday's snow came at a time when the temperature had consistently been below freezing and the road surfaces were below freezing. So that added an extra layer of complication because obviously the snow laid and we have not had the road temperatures come back up above freezing. So we ended up with more snow than expected, and I understand that expectations from the community are high during these events. Upper Darby Township has 126 miles of roads. The snow plan breaks the township up into 8 sectors with specific resources allocated to each sector. And then even within Sector 8, which is some of our most densely populated area, we further break that down into another 5 sectors. So we have salt bins at 2 locations in addition to the main storage yard at Lansdowne Avenue, and we basically run everything out of the Parks Maintenance Yard at this time. Some of the things that we have done to prepare is we have been adding vehicles. I'm actually going to, with your permission, I will share screen. So this is the salt bin that's down at Parks Maintenance. This is not even begin to show all the salt that we do have ready for, especially as we prepare for Friday. We've continued to add vehicles to the fleet. This is one of them. This is another one. It's red, so it does look different than the rest of our fleet, but in the current market, you kind of get what you can, and this color is not our priority. The priority was getting vehicles out. You can see, let me see if I can show you the next one. So then this is one of the salt spreaders that we use. There's also a plow in the front. You can probably tell that this vehicle is up in vehicle maintenance yard. This was taken this morning, and they are working hard to get all the vehicles where we identified any issue that came up during the snowstorm on Monday, getting them back out, and they've done a really good job of making sure that happened. We also, as a quick plug, we also have an opening for qualified mechanics, so please check out www.upperdarby.org/jobs for more details. All right, so looking at the forecast, we're expecting as much as 5 inches of snow on Friday, starting around 6 a.m. We learned a lot from Monday's storm, and our current priorities are just for the next, 24 hours is getting streets clear and the salt down. We are in the process of finalizing the schedules for our crews and supervisors, addressing these priorities, refining the dispatch procedures, and of course, restocking the salt bins. Tonight and tomorrow, we're going to make sure to get as much salt down as possible in preparation for the storm. I met with the team this morning. They were very helpful and kind of talked about, what it takes to just get salt down on all 8 sectors. I want to thank the members of TWU Local 234 who play such a key role in snow response, along with their supervisors from OPEIU, Local 153, and of course our department heads. These employees have been putting a lot of hours, and there's more snow on the way. I, of course, also want to thank the police who are often our eyes out there for trouble spots, along, of course, with the fire department. Fire Chief Boyce, in particular, also serves as our emergency management coordinator. And of course, we appreciate PennDOT's role in addressing our state highways. And then finally, I really do just want to thank the community for taking those safe driving tips, driving safely during this winter weather, maintaining safe following distances, and especially not shoveling snow into the street. That last one is pretty important. That actually comes straight from the guys on the street who are out there plowing and salting. They just asked me to share with the public that that is one of the things that really helps them get their job done, is making sure that when you're clearing snow from your car or clearing snow from anything that's in the street, that you're putting it not in the street. That's my report.
Thank you very much, Ms. Dobbins. I appreciate it. I appreciate the work of the Public Works team, particularly the Highway, Parks, Maintenance, and Sewer divisions. I would also like to thank PennDOT for the work they do to keep the highways open. I also want to thank Acting CAO Dobbins. She's really been working hard the last, 72 hours just to make sure that all of our I's are dotted and our T's are crossed. So thank you for that. She's been working a lot of hours. Thank you for that. After last week's meeting, it was brought to my attention that the terrible fire on Alexander Avenue also affected two other township employees. Will and Eric Risen are brothers and dedicated employees in the sanitation division who also lost their home in last Wednesday's fire. We appreciate all the community support for them, along with Sergeant Ford. Information on how to support the Risen family will be available on the township's Facebook page, and I think the Sergeant Ford's link is already up there on our page. And I also put it on my social media page as well. On Monday, it was my pleasure to be at the Community YMCA of Eastern Delaware County's Unity Breakfast in honor of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Thank you to the members of council who took time to attend, along with my future Chief Administrative Officer, Crandall Jones. I'd like to take a moment to share my reflections on Dr. King, if you would indulge me. Martin Luther King Jr. means a great deal to me for so many different reasons and will always be one of my heroes. As with most of the world, I am inspired by his life's work and his legacy of love and hope. I marvel at the strength and dignity that he showed in times of extraordinary tension, struggle, and danger. He is part of the inspiration that has allowed me to find strength in the face of my own unimaginable tragedy and grief. I think about the fact that on January 30th, 1956, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s house was bombed by segregationists in retaliation for the success of the Montgomery bus boycott. I can only imagine the terror he felt when he understood that his own quest and desire for racial equity and equality made his family vulnerable and put them in danger. The only thing that I can equate that fear to is when I had to come to the realization that I had to live in a world without my better half after losing my queen. No one would have questioned or second-guessed Dr. King after the bombing incident if he walked away. I am certain that his family's safety was his primary concern. I contemplated doing the same thing due to the incredible pain of grief. Instead, he pressed on, marched forward, and his message and mission changed the world. We still reap the benefits of his message today. Partly because of him and because of my faith, I pressed on with my life too. I find the message in his actions is that strength in service to others is a calling and cannot be deterred by naysayers, haters, or even those that will do you harm. Understanding this message and carrying it out is not for the faint of heart and requires one to literally step outside themselves for the good of a greater cause. I'm reminded of a quote from Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. that I think is relevant today and resonates with me based on the community in which we all live. He said, "People fail to get along because they fear each other. They fear each other because they don't know each other. They don't know each other because they have not communicated with each other." I live in a wonderfully diverse community filled with a multitude of beautiful races, religions, hues, sexual orientations, and when we fall short, it's because of that fear that Dr. King talked about. It is because we don't know each other or make the attempt to do so. It's because that fear stifles one ability to communicate and find common ground that will ultimately benefit all of us. I found that once we let go of that fear, attempt to understand each other, and start communicating, we realize that we're more alike than different, and those differences are to be embraced and appreciated. When Dr. King's message of bravery, tolerance, and communication is followed, then and only then will we realize the true potential of our community, state, and country. During this process, there may be some uncomfortable conversations, certainly. Hopefully, some careful self-reflection, and probably some steps outside one's own comfort zone. I'm certain that it won't always be smooth, harmonious, and will not be littered with kumbaya moments, but the payoff will be worth it. If we do the work, the result will allow us to realize our true and full potential. It will give new meaning to words like diversity, equity, inclusion, community, and the United States. I'm willing to do my part to help us get there. I hope you are all willing too. God bless you and keep you. Thank you very much, and I hope that you everyone enjoyed their Martin Luther King Day. So that's my reflections. I want to thank the members of the community, including IAFF, for their strong support of the community service projects at Naylor Run on Monday. And thank you to everyone who honored Dr. King by participating in other service projects throughout the region. Lastly, I just want to mention that my transition team had its second meeting on Tuesday, and we will be utilizing the Teen Advisory Board, which is part of the library, to augment the work that we're doing. So we're looking at a whole bunch of different items, everything to make to improve the quality of life of Upper Darby, and I'll provide more detailed information of that at a subsequent meeting. President Tunis, that completes my mayor's message, sir.
Thank you, Mayor Brown. Next on the next agenda item is President of Council, Hafiz Tunis Jr. Just want to thank the administration for the communication regarding the snow with council members. Having that information was extremely helpful when constituents gave us a call. I also want to thank the committees that have met recently, the Finance and the Zoning Committee, and I'm sure the rest of the committees will be meeting moving forward. I'll be sending a detailed email to all council members informing you on the process of the chief municipal clerk. And I will also, want to inform council that the previous chief municipal clerk did not complete the meeting minutes for the month of December, and we're trying our best to get that to you as soon as possible. I also want to inform the public that we have Miss Kara Gavin here. Gavin, I'm sorry about that. Gavin here, and if there's anything you need, like constituent service for us to follow up on, she will be here and she has the form to kind of help you. Kara is a very prominent member of the One Center. If you go to the One Center, you will see her always smiling. She's done some work for us in the council office, and I'm just grateful that she's able to help us out in this capacity. I would also like to ask Councilor Brannis of the Law and Government Committee, if you could connect with the Kilkenny firm and look into a youth council. This is something that the Kilkenny firm has experience with doing with other boroughs. I believe Sharon Hill Borough does that as well. And I think it's a great way to get our youth involved in our process. I'll also ask if you include acting CAO Dobbins in the conversation. The next council meeting is scheduled for February 7th. That concludes my report. This brings up committee reports. We have one committee on the agenda this evening, and it's Finance Committee. Vice President Andrew Heyman is the chair. Members include Councilor Billups, Minnick, and Andrusko. Vice President Heyman.
Thank you, President Tunis. I'd like to start with a public hearing for ordinance number 3150.
Can we get a reading
of
from
the
the
ordinance from the solicitor? Thank you.
That's all good.
I got it.
Okay.
Cut me some slack.
Thank you very much. I know this was discussed last meeting, so I'm just going to read the therefore clause after that as part of the public hearing, unless any of the council wants to hear anything in addition. Now, therefore, be it ordained as follows: Upper Darby Council hereby reallocates the unexpended funds in Ordinance 3123 from vaccine incentive $305,131.14, employee premium pay $386,094.88, and COVID contingency $118,733.98 for a total of $810,000 to revenue replacement for the 2024 budget. There's an inconsistency clause and a severability clause enacted this day in council chambers.
Motion to adopt?
Second.
Oh,
Well,
Yeah.
there could be a motion in the second, and then there could be an opportunity for hearing.
So there's a motion on the floor and there's a second, and we will now open the public hearing for ordinance 3150. If there's anyone that wishes to address council about this ordinance, should come up to the podium and state your name and address for the record.
John Bizzari, you have my address on file. I just have one question. It's a clarifying question, and I did touch on this last week. I know we're pulling funds from the COVID contingency category, which as of year-to-date 2012-31, based on my calculations from my right to knows, we have expended $75,386 of that 500,000. It looks like we're taking 118,773.98 to use towards the tax ordinance, which would leave $305,840.02 left to that category. My question is, how long is our contract with UHY for consulting? Because they started in 2022. At the end of 23, we only spent 75,000. So just curious as how many years are they consulting for us? And is that enough? It looks like it's enough, but.
Acting CAO Dobbins, and I would also ask Ms. Goody if you can come up to the dais, that would be extremely helpful.
Yes, so the contract with UHY is not for a specific number of hours or a specific retainer. It's based on the exact hours that we use them for. So we will be well within the budget because we are able to manage that very closely.
Yeah, but we're to expend all the funds by end of 2026, is that correct?
So we have to obligate it by the end of '24 and then, yes, expend by the end of '26.
And then will they stay on to do any finalization in?
I can't predict the future, but what I would say is that currently they're funded completely by ARPA. So I don't believe that council would have to appropriate funding in the budget to be able to
So
keep
what will
them
happen
past
with
that.
the remaining funds? Because if we've only spent 75,000 in 2 years, and we're leaving 300.
Could you please close the?
Well, I was letting her by. I mean, like, is this a communist regime now? Yes. Right. Jesus. Well, I was interrupted, so I forget what my last comment was.
Joanne Namavong. So I think what John was trying to find out is, so if there's, what you were saying, $305,000 left that we will have in this category of this ordinance to spend by 2026. And so if we don't spend it by 2026, does it have, so it has to be allocated by 2024. What if at the end of 2024, you have it allocated where you have it allocated, and then you don't end up needing to spend it all, and you don't spend it all by 2026 in that category, then does the money go back to the federal government?
Acting CAO Dobbins.
So the subject of this ordinance is the transfer of those funds as lost revenue. I can't speak to the rest of that because that's not something that's yet been contemplated or discussed with council.
Okay, so, all right, I got nothing. You guys don't give us nothing.
John DeMasi, two statements on this, well, statement and a question. First, a statement, using more ARPA money for lost revenue has already been declared by the rating agencies as one of our problems that is adversely affecting our ability to even get an A rating or A- rating if we ever get rated again. So just the fact that we are contemplating this, we are admitting we are fine with rating agencies downgrading us if we ever get a rating again. I don't know why, I feel like I'm the only one that ever gets that. Second statement. Before we, I know there's a time constraint. Before we go reclaiming no, I'm talking about on the ARPA funds. Fortunately, there's no 3-minute timer. Going after the ARPA funds, I understand the time restraint, but have we looked at where all the other funds have gone? There were a lot of distributions to, I think managed by UHY, to organizations. We just doing investigation on my own, finding that some went to I mean, it was a charitable organization, but it was a charitable organization that had been convicted of federal insurance fraud, I think only 2 years prior, and then they got additional monies that appeared to go buy a vehicle that very well could have been for personal use. It really didn't seem to match with the mission of the charity. For privacy issues, I won't mention the name of that. If you really care about what I discovered, I would be more than happy to have a personal conversation with you and show you the evidence that you can see. And my reason for the statement is, has there been any oversight going back and actually making sure that where this money went actually did what it was supposed to do? Go back and get that money before we start again reallocating to lost revenue that's hurting. I mean, there's other places to go get this money. Has there been any follow-up on any of the distributions to the community organizations? Has that been done? Was there any oversight after the money went out the door?
Ms. Scuddy?
So the nonprofits.
Oh, sorry.
Yes,
Hey, there you go.
The nonprofits all submit drawdown requests to my office, and it is reviewed by me to make sure that it's in compliance with federal guidelines, as well as the budgets that they submitted when they did their proposals.
But then so once the money leaves, there was never any follow-up to see if it was actually used for what they said in those proposals that it was going to be used?
Well, what typically happens is they are spending the money and we're reimbursing them for those expenses.
Okay.
So if they purchase something, then we are, reimbursing them. So yes, I would say it is, they're getting reimbursed for what they're spending and I'm verifying that it's according to the budget they presented.
Okay. And I mean, it's quite possible that it's not, as a part of the law as was written, you didn't have to. I mean, that's quite possible. I'm just trying to understand how some of this money got to some of these organizations that just seem to be, insurance fraud 2 years prior, and then they get more money. That, I think you'd all agree, that seems kind of like a red flag. I'm kind of like wondering how that got through the system. And I think it was like $90,000 total for that organization. So that was not a small amount of money. So that's it. Thank you very much.
I did get my train of thought back. I remember reading about, and this may be Solicitor Kilkenny, you could answer this question. With regards to ARPA funds, I believe in the original write-up from Congress with regards to ARPA and the use of those funds, it was said that they could not be used to offset tax revenue. I believe there were states that filed a suit against Congress with regards to that. Not sure where that ended up, if the courts upheld that or if they, denied those suits. So is that still a valid thing that?
So number one is I vaguely remember that. There's been a lot to go on about ARPA over the last 4 years. I'm looking at Ms. Dobbins, who may have an answer for you. That being said, that's why the township engaged UHY and other townships have engaged consultants, because the regulations have changed frequently on ARPA over the last couple of years. I don't know if Ms. Dobbins had something more specific.
Yeah, so we run these things past UHY before we do them. That is why we engaged with them, and we are allocating it as revenue replacement, so it'll become revenue. That's an absolute thing that has happened previously in previous budgets by previous councils. And so there's precedent. We file all the reports. We've never had any concerns raised regarding how we've been allocating these funds.
Yeah, but you're using it to offset the tax ordinance. Yes, it was.
Yeah, so Joanne Namavong, on January 2nd at the meeting, Andrew Heyman introduced this ordinance and said, or introduced the tax ordinance with no tax increase. And he said, because we're going to allocate $810,000 from the ARPA funds to lost revenue. You guys are on a very slippery slope with how you got up there and admitted that that's what you were doing. You guys deserve to have all that money taken back. Get your act in order.
If there,
I don't know what you're doing.
if there are no further, okay.
I don't know what you're doing. Oh, I have one more.
Okay. Olivia Taylor, 204 Kent. I mean, everything you're doing is against the law. Am I correct? What they're doing is against the law. So the state can come back and get it from them, right? And I really hope they do, and I really hope all of you are accountable and all of you go to jail for it. Thank you.
Joanne Namavong, I'm 100% against passing this ordinance. It's wrong. You guys are, you're like, it's like what you do. What can I get away with? Not what should we do? What's the right thing to do? No, we got to do, what can we do? What devious things can we do to get by and hope nobody finds out? Guess what? We find out. We've been called GOP operatives, so we know how to find this stuff out. And that was you, Andrew Heyman. And we're white supremacists too, right? So that's what we do. I'm against it.
And Mr. Mayor, you just sat here and read about Dr. King. Dr. King wouldn't have done what's happening tonight, by the way.
Okay, if there's no further,
I got something, but I gotta remember it, so give me just a minute here to remember. So it's something to do with this $810,000 and, oh, I know. So you guys want to bring an EIT in, let's just be honest. And so everybody's complaining because we have one of the highest property taxes in the county and in the state of Pennsylvania. And most people with an EIT have a much lower property tax. So Andrew Heyman says, hey, let's get the property tax the same as last year. Then nobody will think we raised the property tax by taking that $810,000. So there you go. Oh, I'm sorry. Judy Duggan.
One last item, just to put a bow on what I said earlier with the John DeMasi. With the $810,000 and the pulling it back, there's already that talk of pulling money out of other money that has never been had any part of it spent. I certainly hope that you're not thinking of using this as a precedent, saying, oh, well, because we were able to do it in this other ordinance, pulling money back, we can now take it from the other ordinance that was supposed to go to the fire stations, saying, well, this set the precedent, because they are definitely different. This one money has already been spent and then there's still leftover, whereas the other never even had a dime given when it should have been given to the firehouses. Those firehouses, as we saw with on the fire at Alexander, they really need the money. This township needs to have a well-funded fire system, fire defense system for its residents. Police too. I mean, that's so just pulling this $810,000 because you want to pass the old mayor's budget instead of what council passed. I mean, if that's what gets your rocks off, go ahead, but it's completely wrong. Thank you.
Okay, if there's no further public comment, I would pass it over to Vice President Heyman. There's a motion and a second on the floor. This would be the appropriate time for discussion.
Council comment.
Okay, just want to verify council gets a chance to
If you would
speak.
please allow me to finish. Vice President Heyman, I
not
would
gonna-
ask if
you
you
guys
could
are doing things out of
oversee
order.
the discussion.
Have any comments from anybody in the committee? Seeing none, I'd like to open those comments to other members of council.
Councilor Wentz?
Yes, so I, like a lot of the residents, do not agree with this ordinance. I am also concerned with the information that Mr. Vasari had brought forward as far as the allocation of funds. Do the numbers still work out, Diane, as far as the, for the, what had been appropriated under the vaccine line versus the premium pay, are these numbers still valid in comparison to the 76,000 that had been reported inappropriately to the treasurer?
Nothing was
Treasurer.
misappropriated. Oh, it is. Nothing was misappropriated. I made a mistake and I put something on a wrong line, but the numbers I gave last week were the correct numbers as to what was remaining for the premium pay as well as for the vaccine incentive.
So the numbers in the ordinance are correct?
Correct.
Okay, just wanted to verify that. I personally am opposed to this for so many reasons, but thank you. I just needed to clarify that.
All right. Are there any other comments from council members? Okay, seeing none. President Tunis, I'd like to move forward to the vote, roll call vote presumably.
Yes, thank you, Vice President Hayman. Discussion is now closed. Secretary Billups, can we please have a roll call vote?
Yes. This is on
Ordinance
ordinance
3150.
3150.
Yep.
Thank you. Counselor Hayman.
Yes.
Secretary Billups is a yes. Counselor Minnick.
Yes.
Counselor Wagner.
No.
President Tunis.
Yes.
Counselor Banto.
Yes.
Counselor Brandis.
Yes.
Counselor Andrusco.
Yes.
Counselor Wentz.
No.
Counselor Silva is excused. Counselor Blackwell.
Yes.
Eight to two, one excuse.
Okay, thank you, Secretary Billups. By a vote of 8-2 with one excuse, ordinance 3150 is approved. Vice President Hayman?
Next on the agenda, I've got, I'd like to make a motion to approve resolution number 1-24, resolution of Upper Darby Township, Delaware County, to approve the 2024 amended budget. Solicitor Kilkenny, believe it'd be appropriate to get another reading.
This is a resolution. Now therefore be it resolved that the budget for the fiscal year of 2024 be approved as I'm sorry?
Microphone, please. I'm sorry about that. Thank you.
Okay. Now therefore be it resolved, can you hear me now, sir?
Much better.
Thank you. Now therefore be it resolved that the budget for the fiscal year of 2024 be approved as attached to Exhibit A, resolved and enacted this day in council chambers. Exhibit A, I will, do you want me to read the various line items in Exhibit A, or what would you like me to do?
I don't think that's necessary, Solicitor Kilkenny.
Does any council member want to read? Okay, thank you.
All right, just to be clear, I was making a motion to approve resolution number 1-24. Can I get a second?
Second?
There was a motion made by Hayman, seconded by Counselor Brandis and Minnick at the same time. Is there any discussion?
Any comments from members of the committee? Counselor Andrusco?
Yeah, I expressed last week my concerns with this budget, specifically from a public safety perspective and the lack of additional support and funding for the police in this budget. Obviously, since then, nothing has changed. As a finance committee, we met last week prior to the meeting just to go over a couple little things, but there's been not much discussion on it. I understand back in, I guess, December, November, when we passed the previous budget, the committee, finance committee at that time went through, made recommendations, made cuts. Now, I understand there's been a change in the council, a change in the administration, and there might be different expectations. But the fact that there's been no discussion on this proposed budget concerns me greatly. I think we have things in here that are excess, and if we were a township that had these funds at our disposal, it'd be great, but we don't. And I think back to this point of the 810 we just passed as well, I do have concerns over using that to balance the budget. Now, if it was supplemental, which I would hope we could talk about, I think it would be great to boost our fund balance. So all this to say is I would like, my recommendation would be to table this ordinance or resolution. I understand that there's been a motion to approve, so that's my recommendation to the two people who made the motion and seconded it, and those are my concerns.
Thank you, Counselor. Do we have any other comments from anybody else on the committee first? Seeing none, I think I saw Counselor Wentz's hand first.
Yes, I also am very concerned about this budget. It does not include 5 firefighters, which an ordinance that was passed by council last year unanimously for the implementation of 5 new police officers is not included in this budget. That's a great concern. It does include 6 new firefighters, paid firefighters, but it does not include police. There had been no conversations last year about needing new firefighters. There had been conversation on police. So the budget that we did pass last in December did include 5 police officers and 2 firefighters. It also had included a finance director, a grant manager, and township engineer, which this does not include any of those things. I am concerned about the use of the ARPA funds to decrease the tax burden. I'm concerned on it not being specifically allocated to a specific department. Lost revenue is a slippery slope. And I am very much against this budget because it does not deal with the need to reduce expenses. It does include salaries for a new CAO at $191,000 with the deputy CAO at $120,000. That's $319,000 going to a CAO position that used to pay one individual $150,000 to do. We are on the verge of bankruptcy. This does not deal with that. This actually continues to increase the expenditures. It has $100,000 in contingency. That's where you hide all kinds of stuff. That's where a lot of things that slide under the radar in previous years were hidden. That's where you hide stuff. We found it. This, as a council member, new council members coming in, this is not a good budget. This is not a fiscally responsible budget. This is a dangerous budget for this township that is on the verge of bankruptcy. If you vote for it, then you're voting in favor of bankruptcy and corruption to continue in our township.
Thank you, Councilor. I believe I saw Councilor Wagner's hand up.
I also believe that there are glaring issues with this budget. I'm not in favor of it. I don't think that's a secret. But I don't need to belabor every point that I have or the issues that I have. I do want to say that my largest concern, again, is the basically lack thereof of funding for the police department. I really am concerned. I think that's the first place we start to get our township back on track. And I agree with Councilman Andrusco, though, that, I'm not just going to sit here and say, no, I'm not going to agree to the budget, just vote no and be a no. I agree with him that it would be appropriate to table it at this time and be able to work on some of those areas. I think that that's important, and I think that we could do our jobs as council members and work together to get that done. And even if that needs, obviously it's going to go through the Finance Committee, and I understand that. But as Councilman Andrusco said, they discussed it last week when they met, and I have all the faith in the world in him to be able to also bring other people's positions and respectives to that meeting. So for the sake of it, I understand there's a motion on the floor, but I would also agree and second his thought to table that motion.
Thank you, Councilor. Next, Councilor Blackwell.
So just for the record and for the residents to understand that this budget does decrease the tax burden. Is that correct?
No, it doesn't.
Please allow Councilor Blackwell to continue.
No, that's not correct.
Okay, all right.
Are there any other comments from members of council? Mayor Brown, would you like to make any comments?
No, I think everything's been said, so we're good.
Thank you so much. Councilor Andrusco.
Yeah, if I could just add again, I just want to add to the perspective, I guess, of new council members coming in. Obviously, when you come in and pass your first budget, it's usually something that you've been sitting on council for some time for. You're doing it generally. Its changes vary, but somewhere in the October, September timeframes when you start these kind of discussions. And although I disagree with the fact that the prior budget was vetoed, I think we have an opportunity now for you to get this kind of experience now to sit in as part of these conversations. And obviously, this decision is ultimately up to yourself. But I would think as an incoming council member, you would prefer to be a process where you get to see what's happening with this budget and be part of the discussion, as opposed to coming in and saying, hey, the prior council or the prior administration did this, so I'm just going to agree to it. So that's my recommendation again, the table. I think it could be productive. I think it could be beneficial for this council and for the township. So again, I'll recommend a table, but obviously that is on the two that made the motion.
President Tunis?
Yeah, I would just like to state the idea that new council members, I mean, some of you were new and things were different when you were new, and some of you said yes to everything. But the idea that new council members are freely saying yes to things, I can tell you through my conversation with all new council members, that is the farthest thing from the truth. And it's and I know what you were trying to get at, and I respect your position, but I just want to state that I'm not trying to speak for anyone, but I would say the idea that new council members are blindly voting is inaccurate. Thank you. First.
Councilor Andrusco, if you'd like to.
Yeah, sorry, not to make this a rebuttal or a back and forth at all. That wasn't any comment of naivety or anything like that. It was just a comment of, I think it could be productive for the future if we start this process now. That's all it was. No slight at anybody regarding that comment.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. We're ready to. Oh, sorry. Councilor Manto, I apologize.
So, this is what I want to touch on. I think we are all aware of what is going on in this township, and no doubt about that. We all live here. We are residents. So coming here, I don't think anyone is infringing on anybody's, right to do the right thing. So for me personally, as I said, I'm a community guy. I just visited the fire department, which I'm going to give update today from Cottondown. And basically, no one is forcing anybody to take decision. Personally, for me, no one is forcing me to take decision. I'm here and I follow issues. I follow what is going on. And I mean, eventually this is a, movement that we are analyzing our budgetary, process. So the decision that I take is binding on me. And I take decision because I'm following what is happening. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. All right. Secretary Billups.
I know we need to hurry up and do what we're going to do. This is a question for you, Diane. If you can answer this question. If this budget needs to be passed, because let me reframe that. Because we're in January, correct? So isn't taxes have to come out soon?
That's correct. So if the budget and the millage need to pass in order for us to get the tax bills out on time, in order for the cash to flow into the township. If that does not happen today, then I would go to Allison tomorrow, and we most likely need to get a tax anticipation note. And I have already, I've already have conversations, in case this does not pass today, that we would have to do that. And I'm not sure how much that would have to be for, because I don't know how long it would take for, if it's not passed today, when will it be passed? So that's that's what keeps me up at night, and that's my concern.
Thank you for saying that, because, everybody keep talking about being fiscally responsible. So to me, having a takeout what you just said, that's not being fiscally responsible if this budget is not passed, right? You don't have to answer, but I'm just saying. So you know what? If you guys want to come up here and talk, but Sean, Solicitor Kilkenny, and I've another question for you now. It was a legal question. I apologize. I'm trying to remember. This is a resolution, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Not an ordinance, because ordinance is what can be added to, correct?
No.
So resolutions, I'm just asking the question. Everybody turning their face up. I'm just asking a simple question. Jesus
So an
Christ.
ordinance, a resolution does not need to be advertised.
No. I'm saying, resolutions and versus ordinance as far as what can be changed, because I'm always hearing how our budget is a living document. I'm always hearing that saying about, in the township, that a budget is a living document. So since it's a resolution, everybody keep talking. Since it's a resolution, that's my question. Since it's a resolution, since it's a living
Well,
document.
This would be, yes, many people say budgets are a living document.
Mhm.
This is a resolution to pass this year's budget on the
Right.
first-class township code.
Right.
Of course, there are reallocations of budgets from time to time. Upper Darby reallocates budgets usually at the end of the year.
Mhm.
It's a living document, and yes, things change.
That's my question. That was my question. You answered. Thank you.
Counselor Andrusco.
Yeah, just seeking clarification here, Solicitor Kilkenny. I believe to the point regarding the budget, I understand the tax rate needs to be fixed because we need to get bills out, but my understanding is that if we do not pass a budget, that it sunsets in from the prior year and the budget from the last year carries into this year.
Yes.
Is that correct? Now, does that mean come the end of January, it would still continue into February and hypothetically into March and April and so on if no budget was ever passed?
Yeah, it says month to month in the charter.
Okay, so.
Then we have a tax bill issue, as Ms. Scudi.
Understood, you'd be issuing a
Which
tax
would be
rate without
issue.
understanding, knowing
Then
your
there
budget.
is a TAN, and that would be, I believe, in many estimates, close to $100,000 of issuance costs, which would, pay for an employee.
Correct, but what I'm trying to say here is hypothetically, you could pass a tax rate, get your tax bills out, not have a set budget yet, but then when it comes time to pass that budget, you need to be within the bounds of what your tax rate is.
You were going to have a budget by February 15th. That's what the first-class township code says. If you open the budget, as this council did, then you have to have a budget by February 15th, or it's going to revert back to the older budget, as you said.
Correct, but could it revert back to the older budget with a different tax rate, or you're saying the tax rate
No,
needs?
the tax rate's going to be fixed. Can't change the tax rate after February 15th.
Correct, but I'm saying, you're saying the budget will set back to what it was in 2023 since at February 15th because we reopened it if we don't pass anything. But if we set a new tax rate, that still is in place even if the budget goes back to what it was for 2023.
I don't understand really your question. There is a tax rate ordinance, a millage ordinance on the agenda, and there's a budget ordinance on the agenda, yes.
Correct.
A budget resolution on the agenda.
Yes, but what my question is if we pass the millage rate.
I believe Ms. Dobbins has a,
So I think what Counselor Andrusco is asking is, do they have an option to not pass the budget resolution, but still pass the millage rate ordinance to get tax bills out on time? But my understanding was that the last time they were presented a millage rate ordinance, they said, we don't have a budget, so we can't pass it. So I'm not sure, like, is that a real reason? Like, basically, can they pass a millage rate ordinance where the ordinance specifically says they've passed a budget without having passed a budget?
the two go hand in hand. I've never seen that not done.
Okay.
Yeah, to be honest.
Clarify. Thank you.
Yes.
Acting CEO Dobbins.
I guess what I would say, because I understand what you're trying to say, Counselor Andrusco, in terms of, there's still priorities, there's still a lot to review. That is what Solicitor Kilkenny was talking about in terms of the transfer of appropriations ordinance. There's also a piece in, I'm sorry, I can't remember if it's the code or the charter, where if you identify additional revenues, then you have the authority to allocate those. So if we underestimated in the budget a specific revenue line and we're seeing, and that's a way that you can address some of those priorities, that can happen over the course of the year, even after this budget is passed. And so.
All right, if there are no more comments, I'd like to move forward with the roll call vote.
Thank you. So this is a vote on the amended budget, and it's a resolution. Counselor Hayman.
Yes.
Secretary Billups is a yes. Counselor Minnick. Counselor Wagner,
No.
Vice President Tunis.
President Tunis.
Isn't that you?
No, I'm not Vice President, I'm the President.
I said.
Yes.
Counselor Banto,
Yes.
Counselor Brandis,
Yes.
Counselor Andrewsko.
No.
Thank you.
What about, oh,
I was just about to call you.
I'm sorry. I just thought you were gonna close.
I
the
didn't forget.
voting.
I didn't forget. Counselor Wentz.
I'm a solid no.
Thank you. And Counselor Silver is excused. Counselor Blackwell.
I'm against raising the taxes, but I'm going to say yes to keep the township afloat.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7, 3, and 1 excuse.
Okay, by a vote of 7-3 and 1 excuse, Resolution 124 is approved. Vice President Hayman, can we take a look at the next
Thank you
item on the
very,
agenda?
thank you very much. Next up, we've got a public hearing for ordinance 3149. And can we get a reading from our solicitor, please?
Thank you very much. Ordinance 3149, because this was previously discussed, I'm just going to read the therefore clause in lower, unless if anyone wants to hear anything else. Section 1, the tax be the same is hereby levied on all property and occupations within the said township, subject to taxation for the purposes for the fiscal year 2024 as follows. Tax rate for a general fund purpose, the sum of 13.75 mils on each $1,000 of assessed valuation. For debt purposes, 0.46 mils on each $1,000 of assessed valuation. The same summarized in tabular form as follows, for a total tax rate of 14.21. There is also a section providing for the fees and collection disposal of refuse set forth in section 461-18 Code of Ordinances shall be charged a sum of $315 for each dwelling unit contained in such each residence for the collection of refuse for the residence building. Section 3, increasing the sewer rates and charges set forth in sections 4541A of the Code of Ordinances for the said rental or charge based upon the following rates in accordance with the following classifications. 1 single-family dwelling unit, $275. 2 apartment unit, $275. 3 apartment house for each apartment unit, $275. 4 public business, commercial, or industrial users for the first 60,000 gallons of water annually, $275. Amending section 455-1B, public business, commercial, or industrial users shall pay the rate of $275 per unit. There is a severability clause and an inconsistency clause enacted and ordained to stay in council chambers.
Thank you very much, Solicitor Kilkenny. I'd like to make a motion to adopt ordinance number 3149. Can I get a second?
There's a motion on the floor. Is there a second? Second. Motion made by Councilor Hayman, seconded by Minnick. I will now open the public hearing. If you would like to make a comment on this ordinance, please come up to the podium and state your name and address for the record.
Joanne Namavong. So can I ask a question? What's the current rates for 2023? I think it was a total of 14.02, but what was the allocation between the two? Anybody know?
Who's looking into it?
Okay.
I'm sorry, I think it's,
One-
So take 14.02, take 20 bips, that's about
Maybe David can just tell us.
Yeah.
the same right to me.
It's 13 point something, without it in front of us.
I think Ms. Dobbins might have the answer.
Yeah.
Ms. Dobbins?
According to the document that Ann had helpfully emailed me, last year's general fund millage rate was 13.29, and last year's millage rate for debt service was 0.2.
Oh, okay, so it was only 1349. I could have sworn we were already at 14.02, 2023. Can somebody check that sometime? That's what I thought. So how does that 13.29 and .2 come to 4? No, I could have swore that the 2023 rate was a total of 14.02, but now you're telling me it was only 13.49. So maybe I'm wrong.
It's hard for us to hear the speaker. If one person could just, she has the floor.
Okay.
You have the floor. I'm
Sorry
sorry.
about that.
No, it wasn't you. I just want to
I'm
make
just
sure
trying to
we can-
get, I'm trying to get clarification.
That's absolutely my fault. I misread the spreadsheet. So it was talking about 13.49 was the 2022 millage rate, and it looks like it was an additional 0.07 increase for the general fund, 0.46 increase, and it is a 14.02 millage rate in '23.
So was the debt service the same rate? 0.2, or what was the debt service rate? For 2023. I mean, somebody has the old ordinance, it's on there. I just didn't know if somebody could pull it up, the 2023 ordinance. I don't have it with me. I don't remember what number it was, but the 2023 ordinance gave the breakdown for what they passed in December of 2022. It was like the last meeting. It was like December 28th, when you passed the budget and the tax increase. Well, while we're looking for that, I guess I want to find out, so this tax increase, and this clearly is a tax increase, just so you know, Danielle, because you just said you didn't want a tax increase, just reminding, this is a tax increase. How much is it going to generate in additional real estate taxes for the general fund?
Over the prior year budget, it's 1.8 million.
So additional 1.8 million for general. Okay, thank you. Secondly, the second part of this, well, this part, section 2 and section 3 about the tax increase for the trash and the sewer. I find it really hard to stomach that you're going to increase the trash and the sewer when you reallocated $796,000 from the sanitation department to put other places at the end of 2023. So unless I'm wrong, is that it's sanitation also cover snow removal? Or is that a different part of Public Works?
Acting CEO Dobbins.
Snow removal, yeah, snow removal is completely in the highway fund. It's primarily paid through liquid fuels. My understanding is that appropriation, Diane, let me just double check the ordinance.
Okay, well, I think it's not. I think it's not. I think sanitation is sanitation. I don't think sanitation has anything to do with snow removal. So I have a huge problem that we had $796,000 surplus in 2023 that you voted a couple meetings ago to move to different line items to reallocate the budget. So you're going to increase our tax for these specific things, but you're not really increasing it for those things because you're going to reallocate the excess to other departments. So it's really a larger tax increase than what you're saying because you're moving it to other general fund items. And it's disingenuous what you're trying to do here. And also, the fact that there's 2 counselors on this council that either were behind by and had judgments against them for trash and sewer fees, and then you're going to vote to raise mine. When I paid mine, you didn't pay yours. 2 of you did not pay yours. And I know one of you said you paid it, but it's still showing as an outstanding lien on your property. It is. It's still showing as outstanding lien. And I have a big problem you raising my rates when you don't pay yours. That's a huge problem.
Next speaker, please. Residents, please keep it down.
John
so we can hear
DeMasi.
Mr. DeMasi.
Sorry.
Sorry, just make sure you have the floor.
John DeMasi, I just have a question for you because we live in Upper Darby and there's taxes in Upper Darby. I understand you have to pay the services here. Taxes in Delaware County. I understand county's got to pay their things. School district, big plans of the school district. Taxes got to go there. And of course, then there's the state. You know, everybody's got to. Has anyone asked themselves what is the limit that we will get to taking from the residents? There has to be, even if the number, if you're like, you know what, 50%, just throw it out there, whatever. What's the limit that you will continue to raise to? If you don't have that limit, then really we're all in big trouble. You have to have some idea of what is the most that you will take from the residents for any reason. I would love to hear any number. Like, well, what's the maximum? Where do you think that we fall on that scale? Not just in the overall of being a resident of Upper Darby with the taxation of the county, the school district, and the municipality. What's that number? And what should our percentage be in that? And do you ever coordinate? You coordinate much more easily with the school district to say, how much pain are we going to inflict on our residents? Of course, we're receiving services for some of these taxes. Some of those taxes are not paying for services, both here and the district. But you have to have some idea of what's enough. And if you have that, then you can tell me, well, we're nowhere near enough, or we've got enough. Is there anyone on the council that can express an actual number of what millage rate would be the maximum that you think would be appropriate to inflict on a resident of Upper Darby? Is there anyone? So for all of you, there's no one that would say, no, this would be too much. So there really is never too much. You want to go to 100%? You can go to 100%?
I'm gonna chime in. I don't know if that's a fair question. I don't know. We have to provide services. We have to have a balanced budget. You know, we have to run a municipality, and you know, whether we do a 10% or $10 tax increase versus a $100,000 tax increase, it's going to affect people differently. Everybody in the township doesn't make the same thing. Somebody's going to real estate taxes will hurt them more. In EIT, if we had it, would hurt some other people more. So there's never an exact answer where we can say this is where we're going to draw the line. That's almost impossible to ask. I don't think it's a fair question at all. I mean, if everybody in Upper Darby Township made the same amount of money, then you can say this will affect everybody the same way. We can establish where what's reasonable, what they're going to have left after we levy school taxes, county taxes, sewer taxes, municipal taxes. We can establish where everybody will end up after we levy those taxes. But we can't do that because everybody's affected differently. I don't know how you would expect to ask that question and have somebody say, oh, well, this is where we're going to draw the line. It's unrealistic to gauge that because everybody's going to be affected by taxes differently. You heard, let me finish, and then you can tell me why I'm wrong. People will, people will be upset about real estate taxes if they go up to a certain amount because it's cutting into their income, right? And at a certain point, then it makes it harder for them to do the things that they need to do. Some people may say, I want my real estate taxes to not go a penny higher while I'm willing to do an EIT tax because that will affect not seniors, but it'll affect other people. So there's different pros and cons to everything. As I stated before, somebody's not going to be happy with taxes. Someone's going to be affected by it, and someone's going to be hurt by it. I don't think we take any pleasure in levying any kind of tax, but it's necessary, right? I mean, we have to be able to provide services and run a township. So that's what I got.
Well, actually, Mr. Brown, I'm going to surprise you. First of all, I appreciate you answering that, and it was a very thoughtful answer. I agree with a number of the points that you made. The one that I do disagree with, that I would just leave with, that I ask you is actually 2 points. One, you said, well, it's going to affect everybody differently, and you can't get the same outcome for everybody. And that's true. That's life. That's why you have to say, where is the point where we stop hurting the people? Where is enough for us, where we would have to, instead of increasing taxes, we make a cut here? So that is, I think it's a fair question because of that, because you have to have some limit that beyond that point, it is unfair for the district, for the township to impose that on anyone. And then the other item added on to the fairness is, while you say that it's unfair to put a limit from the township side, every resident has a limit. So every resident has to go to the township with their limits. So I think it is a fair question that the township also comes from the side of, we have to have a limit. Thank you very much.
Olivia Taylor, 204 Kent. Upper Darby Township has the highest taxes in the state of Delaware, first and foremost. And before you all got in here, this is once thriving township. We didn't have this issue. We did not have this issue before you all got in here and the last mayor. So let's be clear, number one. Number two, President Tunis, before you can sit here and tell us what we can and cannot say, you got two members of council up here who owe sewer taxes. How about you pass the ordinance and nullify these two to vote on raising somebody else's when they haven't paid their own? There's an idea. How about that? They should not be allowed to vote in here when they owe sewer fees themselves. They want to raise other people's, but they haven't paid theirs. Are you kidding me? But yeah, you want to dictate to me what I can say in this room. I don't think so. Second of all, I'm going to repeat what I said, Mayor Ed Brown. You know, you said here with your Dr. Dream speech, everything you doing, everything you're saying is everything that he was totally against. You know this is hurting the township. You know this is hurting the residents. Everything you said was a complete joke, okay? It was a complete joke. It was a waste of our time, and it was just something to say to pass the time, all right? And again, I'm gonna go back to you. These two should not be allowed to vote in here on anything about raising anybody taxes on any level. Respond. My question was directed to you.
Thank you for your comments, Ms. Taylor.
I asked you.
That concludes your public
No,
comment.
it does not. I asked you a question.
That is my response. Thank
What
you.
is it?
Thank you, Ms. Taylor.
You're not going to say anything? You
That was
still
my
want to hurt
response.
this community? And then you got David over here who wants to sit up here and vote. We care. Boy, bye. Stop it. You are a yes person, okay? You're one and done. You're in here by default. Let's keep that in mind, all right? You are a yes person. You are a puppet, and that's why you're in here. You're one and done. Keep that in mind.
Sorry, just real quick, Joanne Namavang. I asked this earlier, and I meant to actually get an answer. So I guess, Diane, when you proposed, you're the one I
Taylor,
remember.
please. This is your first warning. This is your first. Ms. Taylor, this is your second warning.
Third, fourth, fifth, sixth, now what? What are you gonna do? Now what?
Ms. Taylor,
Now what?
I'm going to ask the officers in the room to escort you out of the office, out of the council room.
All you want.
Officers, please escort Ms. Taylor out of the meeting. Thank you.
I'm not going anywhere. I'm not going anywhere. I'm not going anywhere. No, I'm not. This clown is not going to dictate to me. You understand? Because that's what he is, a clown. That is embarrassing Upper Darby Township. Yes, it's public comment. Excuse me.
Ms.
You will
Taylor,
not dictate
you will
to
be
me. You understand? You are an embarrassment to
Taylor.
Upper I am going to speak. I'm not going anywhere. I'm not. Did you hear what Peggy Wilson? Embarrassing. What's the other one? That got up here and spoke. No, I'm not. Then it's going to be a bigger lawsuit. Nope, it's going to be a bigger lawsuit. Okay, it's going to get a bigger lawsuit. Okay. No, I'm not resisting anything. I'm standing in a public building. I'm not disrupting anything. No, it's not. Then I guess you would have to charge me and I'll have to sue every last one of those clowns sitting up here. Yeah.
We'll proceed with public comment on ordinance 3149.
It's a shame, all that could have been avoided, but just kind of the way you started out, I'm going to speak about this ordinance, but the way you started out this meeting, Mr. Tunis, was very confrontational. And so you put every single person in this room on edge with what you did at the beginning of this meeting. So please think about that. Reflect on that, the way your behavior. I am. I'm getting there. I'm getting there. So when I spoke a minute ago, I asked about the trash and sewer increase. I asked about the 796,000 surplus that was reallocated. So Diane, the question is for you because I remember when you introduced the trash and sewer increase. What is the basis for that when there's a surplus?
When we did the trash increase, how we do that is we look at the budgeted expenses for the year, and that's how we determine what, so the budgeted expenses for 2024, and that's how we determine how we set the rate so that we cover our expenses. And I would suggest that it does not cover all of our expenses.
So but then if it didn't cover all our expenses, why are we reallocating to why did we reallocate to other line items on the budget?
I would say that in 2023, the budget there were items that were over budgeted. Possibly like gasoline, maybe it would be one, the gas wasn't as high as we had anticipated in 2023, as we budgeted for 2023.
But if it wasn't, then why didn't we all get a tax refund? We should have gotten a tax refund. If you're billing us for trash and sewer and you don't use it for that, it should come back to the residents. This is wrong. This is totally wrong. And I'm going to say it again, Andrew Heyman, if you vote for this, I have no. Jess Brannis, if you vote for this, Andrew Heyman, neither one of you should be voting for this. Abstain because it's wrong for you to take part in this. And smile all you want. You've gotten everybody on edge. Congratulations.
Judy Duggan, don't think that we're stupid and that we don't know that this is all just an exercise in futility because you've all made up your minds. You all know what you're going to do. And Ed, thank you for what you said about our wonderful, diverse community. I know I'm white, so I don't count, but I really appreciated the diversity in Upper Darby when I moved here. When our street had so many different nationalities, I was very happy there. But people have to keep moving out because we can't afford it. There are 49 municipalities in Delaware County, not in the state of Delaware, but Delaware County. I know you were laughing about that. But we're number 3 on the tax rate. If you include all the taxes, including the school district, we are number 2. So congratulations to us, I guess. I have a friend, not the same race or religion as me, who moved to Broomall. He said, come on, Judy, you're going to save so much money. You'll get a better house, a safer neighborhood, and you'll pay tons less taxes. And again, I would like to reiterate, Mr. Heyman, it is still, you told us that you paid your debt, but it is still listed as unpaid. So you need to check into that. Jess Brannis, you said that you talked to them. It's still listed as unpaid. Please, don't vote for this. You guys know how hard it is. I'm on a fixed income, but I'm against the EIT. I'm a retired person. I only get my Social Security, but I'm against an EIT because I know it's going to hurt everybody else. I'm a homeowner. When you raise this property tax, it's going to hurt me. But I'm not just about me. I care about the township. You gotta stop. When I run out of money, and I have been running out of money since I'm only getting $2,000 a month instead of $10,000 a month when I was working, I had to cut my expenses. Oh, What do you know? I can't go out to dinner quite as often. How about if we cut some expenses in this township? Did we ever think about that? Is there any line item on the budget that is cut from last year to this year? When that guy, I don't know who he was, got up here and told us that we're West Philadelphia and that we're running out of money and we are going to be bankrupt before you know it. Did we think about cutting anything? We're paying the township engineer, I don't know how much, but he's not the township engineer. We're paying Mr. Kilkenny how much, how many thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars? Do we think about cutting any line item except for snow removal, I guess? I don't know. We need to cut something. That's what you do in your own house. I'm sure you've done it yourself too, Mr. Brown, in your own house. And counselors, I'm sure you've had to cut expenses. That's what we have to do. Not keep raising the taxes until nobody can afford to live here. And you can have all Section 8. Congratulations.
Becky Duggan, I'm just going to reiterate what several of the other speakers had said. You know, we all know, you all have already made up your mind. This doesn't matter. We get up here and talk. And, you know, you're going to do what you're going to do because you don't care what we really say. Doesn't matter. I get it. You don't care. You can shake your head no, but you've already made up your mind.
It's not true.
So,
I'm disappointed that you have that perspective. It's not.
well, that's because that's the perspective I have, because it's always what's happened, okay? You can change my mind, and I look forward to you changing my mind, but we'll see. However, that being said, as far as the trash and sanitation rate increasing, I'd like a commitment that if the end of this year, if there's a surplus in sanitation, it will not be reallocated anywhere. It will stay as an overrun for next year to reduce the fees. Can we get a commitment that there won't be a reallocation of any sanitation funds if you guys raise our fees again?
It's not how a government works. We don't take recommendations from public comment and then say, we'll commit to doing that. That's just not how it works. So that could be your desire, that could be your recommendation, but you're not going to poll this council and get them to raise their hand and then make a decision based on your suggestion. We'll hear you out, but that's not how it works.
Well, that is my suggestion. I would like everybody to consider that, because I am going to be here unless I'm dead, which you all probably would prefer that, quite honestly. I will be here at that meeting if you ever try to reallocate that money.
Okay, one second.
Ms.
Is there any further public comment?
I'd like to respond to that.
Okay. Vice President Heyman?
Ms. Duggett, I'm sorry if you feel that way, but that's absolutely not true. I consider you a friend. I like you and I care about you. I don't wish death on you. I may not agree with you. I may not agree with anybody here in the audience, but that's not true.
Okay, if there's no further public comment, there's a motion on the floor and a second, and now there will be a time for discussion. Councilor Wentz?
Yes. Did we ever get the numbers of what exactly was the tax levy was in 2023? I know that question had been asked. Do you have the specific numbers?
It was 14.02,
14.02.
including the millage. Including the debt service of 0.20.
And what, so, okay. So it was 13.82 originally for 2023. Okay. Okay. Yeah, I oppose this tax levy increase. I mean, I understand we need to get our bills out. I understand if we don't, we would need to have a TRAN. And I believe our interest would be so high with the TRAN that it would not be affordable, especially trying to do it now. But unfortunately, I do agree with the residents. The budget did not include any cuts of any substance, so the burden is on the taxpayer. I do share concerns about the transfers that happen in sanitation at the end of the year to cover other departments' over expenditures. So it's hard to justify the increase of the trash fees if we're going to be than using it to cover up for other people, other departments who can't stay within their budget. It would be great if people would stay within their budget, but we have yet to see it. So, but yes, I think that was all I have. Thank you.
If there are any further,
Any other members of council? Councilor Drusko.
Yeah, sorry, just seeking clarification here. WCO Dobbins or Ms. Scotty, maybe you can answer this. I was under the impression that our fees for refuse and sewer come down from the provider. I don't know if it's Delcor or what it is. Is that accurate?
So for the sewer fee, yes, that would be, we do an estimate. Sorry. Yes, so the sewer, I think it's Philadelphia, Darby Creek, Muckampotties, and Delcora. Yeah, there's 4 authorities that we pay. So that's part of the sewer fee. There's also the sewer employees and sewer repairs that are all part of that budget.
And that's its own budget, you're saying, of the sewer fund?
Yeah, the sewer fund is Fund 108.
Okay, thank you.
All right, unless we have any other comments, I'd like to move forward with a roll call vote.
thank you, Vice President Hayman. Secretary Phillips.
This is
3149.
149, yeah, right here in front of me. Vice President Hayman,
Yes.
Secretary Phillips is a yes. Counselor Minute,
Yes.
Counselor Wagner,
No.
President Tunis,
Yes.
Counselor Banto,
Yes.
Counselor Brandis,
Yes. Yes.
Counselor Andrewsko,
No?
Counselor Wentz,
No.
Counselor Silva is excused. Counselor Blackwell,
Kudos to our trash department and everybody who do the work that they do. I'm going to say yes for all that they do reluctantly, but we have to do it. Yes.
7-3, 1 excuse.
Okay, ordinance 3149 passes with a vote of 7-3 with 1 excused. Our next item on the list is our solicitors, our solicitor.
Thank you very much, Council President Tunis. I was asked by Council President Tunis to update council as to some pending litigation matters that may have held over from the end of last year. I know one that was of particular interest to much of council, and in fact was the cause of a special meeting, was the condemnation of 7260 Westchester Pike, which was needed for police services at the time. And I know there was a special council meeting, it was passed. There was a declaration of taking was filed at the Delaware County Prothonotary. Ms. Marcini went over to the Recorder of Deeds today. It was lagging a little bit. It was electronically filed, and sometimes that gets caught a little bit in cyberspace. So I asked Ms. Marcini to go over personally and make sure it was done. On the Recorder of Deeds, it is done. Mr. Snyder, who was representing the property owner, has been in contact with us in the administration. We have an agreement, so there will be no litigation involving this. And based on the appraisals, it came to a settlement of $375,000 for the property. So once it goes through the Recorder of Deeds, we'll contact the judge that's assigned and go ahead and record that. And as of now, the township owns the property, but then it will be all finalized, no litigation, and it will be done. So just so everyone has an update as to where that stands as far as that goes. So I just wanted to bring council up to date. I'll try to highlight, I know the hour's gotten late and there's been a lot of back and forth this evening, but if anybody has anything specific, any counselors, I'll be happy to update counselors on that. Send me an email, I'll bring it up at the next meeting or anything like that, and be happy to address it. Other than that, want to know that anybody have any questions? All right, thank you very much.
Thank you, Solicitor. The next item on the agenda is old business. Is there any old business? Councilor Wentz?
Yes, thank you. I just wanted to thank everyone who came out to help with the cleanup on Monday. We were going to do Westchester Pike, but when we started, it was a small number of people, so we ended up just staying at the Observatory Hill Park because it needed a lot of cleanup. So thank you for all those who showed up. I do have some old business as far as some of the residents' public forum. I'm just curious, the property that Mr. Vasari mentioned that we purchased at 3620 Garrett Road, I don't remember anything coming to council about us purchasing that land, let alone it being applied to the business district ordinance. So I'm a little confused how we purchased land and council was unaware of it.
Solicitor Kilkenny?
Ms. Marcini, are you aware of that? I believe Colleen handled it, so I'll let her talk about it.
We actually were in the process of purchasing this land for a long time, so we did have a resolution by council to purchase the land, and we had the purchase price.
Can you send me the resolution number?
can.
Somehow I don't remember doing that.
I will.
Okay, thank you. And I just also don't understand why it was added, why it was applied to the business district revitalization, because it was not mentioned that the funds would come from that. When we talked about the revitalization of the business districts, at no point in time did anyone say, we're purchasing a hunk of land there and we're going to use this money to do that. So I'm very concerned about that. So I definitely need to see that resolution to see where the funds were going to originally come from, because we needed those funds for actual revitalization of the business districts as the ordinance had been passed 11-0 by council. So. So then my other, my understanding as far as Marshall Road, I know the resident is not here at the moment, but if there was a truck dumping salt on Marshall Road, that's a state road, and therefore it would have been PennDOT. But I just wanted to clarify, certain roads are PennDOT and certain roads are the township. So I just wanted to give that clarification. That's all I had. Thank you.
Thank you. Do any other council members have any old business? If there are no further comments, I'll be moving along to new business. Oh.
I
Councilor
just want to
Blackwell?
remind everyone in the 4th District that on Friday, January the 26th at 5:30 to 7:30, we are meeting at the Highland Park just for a town hall meeting to discuss issues. That's it. Just as a reminder, we've mentioned this before. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Blackwell. Next item on the agenda is new business. Any council members that have new business? Councilor Banto.
Thank you, President Tony. So I'm going to begin with my announcement. So on the 18th of February, I'm having a scheduled town hall meeting, and I'm going to pass the flyer around to councilors and the mayor, but you have the information for 6th District. Outside of that, this is just a quick update. Recently, I received an invitation from the fire department in Cardinal, the 6th District area, to visit the site. So on the 14th, I went up there to visit. And I just want to begin by thanking Tim Powell and his team for the invitation, and I thought it was a great meeting. I was able to tour the entire station, have conversation with them. They also took me around, and saw all of the apparatus and the paraphernalia within the section. So basically, I familiarized myself with everything that we got used in the building. And outside of that, we also sat down and we had a meeting. And I listened to them. They presented everything from the history of that fire station. I thought it was interesting to know that that station been there since 1916. It was established. And you guys been in operation since. So I thought it was great to hear that. Also, they went over their challenges, their, achievement, and the rest of it, everything that they put into the work. And actually, in the midst of everybody today, I just want to say thank you to those guys, the kind of work that they do. It was so touching for me when Paul came in with a story about responding to a dispatch. And this time, it was not a fire situation. At 2 a.m. when they went out, it was the infant that they have to resuscitate and, save her life because she was choking or whatever. So I thought you guys are great and they are awesome. It's a lot that was thrown at me, but coming into this space as a new councilman, right now I'm listening, I'm doing a lot of listening, taking in, and I think that was a great visit for me because as chairman on the Public Safety Committee, these are guys that I'm going to be working with and going in there to see for myself for the first time what these guys go through. That just gave me a sense of how I'm going to be, that just going to make me to, inform my decision making moving forward. So, I mean, I'm sitting today, yes, we are doing what we have to do to get everything going, but I'm a resident of this township for over 20 years. So I know the challenges that we face in this township. I'm not a stranger, and as time goes on, I'm going to be working with those that I'm supposed to work with. I've been with the police department. I work at a policing community center, and I know what the police need in this township. We listen to residents, everything that they came up with, we need them. This is not something about if and but. We need those things to have this township safe. And as chairman of this committee, I'm going to do my best to work with those that are in charge of what needs to be done. I started this process already with Sean, Colleen, and the rest of them. So I just, in this public manner, I know the temperature is high. We are all taxpayers. I'm sitting here voting on a tax, which of course, knowing fully well myself, I'm a taxpayer. But we will get there. That's one thing I can tell you. We will get there. So I just want to end on this note tonight that let's keep hanging on. And basically, that is the update, Mr. President.
Thank you.
I think the fire department, they are awesome, and I want to say thank you to those guys.
Yeah.
We want to keep those doors open, and let's see how we can work. There are a lot of negotiation going on, but I know we have to work with those guys. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Banto. Councilor Wagner?
Thank you. The mayor kind of touched on this a little bit earlier, so I just want to go a little further about the fire that happened on Alexander, that is my district. And I've been in contact with those families. First of all, I want to thank our first responders who did an excellent job, especially the fire department. Luckily, no one was injured, which is obviously the most important part. But that being said, they have, lost their homes, all three families that did. So as of today, we're able to say that we are doing a benefit for them. I'm setting that up with the Police Relief Association, Station Tap, and Hands. We finalized that date today. It's going to be February 17th from 3 to 6 p.m. at Hands. I encourage you guys all to, it's a Saturday, yep. I encourage you all to come, and again, it is for all three families, especially with two of them being part of our Upper Darby family, township family, worker family. And if anybody knows anyone who's willing to call me and do some baskets for donations, that would be great for the raffles. So just, if you do, just contact me, and I'll be sure to set that up with you, so.
What's the time again?
Okay.
I
Let's start
didn't
with,
know there'd be so many questions.
yeah, let's start with Councilor Billups. Councilor Wentz, and I'll go last, okay?
If you can just send an email out with the date and what you need as far as the basket is concerned.
I absolutely will. The only reason I didn't is because we literally finalized it as I was walking in
Okay,
here. So
gotcha. Yes.
I just haven't had a chance.
I think I may know somebody that can help with the basket, so.
Councilor Wentz?
Did you have the time? I did 3 to 6, thank you.
They took my answers, my questions. So thank you, Counselor Wagner. Counselor Minnick?
I, Marion B. Minnick, am the chair of the zoning committee. The rest of the committee consists of Vice President of Council Andrew Heyman, 6th District Councilwoman David Banto, and 1st District Councilwoman Megan Wagner. The committee met with Joshua Chass, Assistant Director of Licenses and Inspection for Planning and Zoning, and these are the recent notable land development projects happening in the township. First, Delaware County Community College, DCC, is developing a college campus at 403 North Lansdowne Avenue. The project includes the demolition of the existing auditorium, convent, and gatehouse, and renovation of the original Pendergast building and classrooms, constructing a new annex building with classrooms, creation of a new early learning center, redevelopment of the gym, parking improvements, and the construction of a 2-story parking garage. In November, the DCCC submitted an amendment to the original land development plan, proposing to break the project into 3 phases. Phase 1, the construction of the site work at grade parking, early learning center, renovation of the main building, construction of the annex with a total of 22 classrooms. Phase 2, construct 6 additional classrooms. Phase 3, develop the parking garage and renovate the gymnasium. The plan was reviewed by the Planning Commission on December 11th and is being prepared for submission to the council. Second, A&W Warehouse Development, located at 160 Grant Road. The applicant proposes to develop the parking lot / construction storage yard into a 2-story, 8,800 square foot warehouse with site improvements. The plan was reviewed by the Planning Commission on January 8th and is being prepared for submission to the council. Third, smoke shop zoning ordinance. Planning staff are working with the Planning Commission, Kilkenny's office, and several department heads to propose an amendment to the current smoke shop zoning ordinance. Lastly, Planning Commission and Zoning Hearing Board vacancies. It is also a priority to fill all the vacancies on our Planning Commission and Zoning Hearing Board. Anybody interested should apply by emailing to the mayor at upperdarby.org. As a reminder, the Planning Commission meets on the 2nd Monday of the month at 7 p.m., and the Zoning Hearing Board meets on the 4th Tuesday of the month in the Township Meeting Room, 100 Garrett Road, Upper Darby, 19018. All are welcome. Every meeting is streamed live on YouTube. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Counselor Minnick. There are no further comments?
Yeah, I do. I'm sorry. I was shaking my head because I heard smoke shop and I went right into, but I heard you say that they were adjusting the ordinance. So, okay. So thank you for that. Because I thought you was trying to do another smoke shop, but thank you.
Yeah, so one thing I ask committee chairs is to report to the public when they have meetings and when they meet with the administration, just so we can kind of have an idea what's coming to council in the future. So I thank you, Councilor Minnick and Councilor Banto, for that. If there are no further,
Sorry, just.
Councilor Wentz?
Yeah, I'm sorry, just as an abstract, the first meeting of the month is meant to be a committee meeting where that's the best time for committees to report back. I know that under former President Burke, he had taken all the committees listed out of the agenda, and only what was on the agenda was anything that had action. But it might be worth bringing the committees list back in, at least for February, since you're asking all the committees to meet so that they can actually report in a timely fashion at that first meeting, because that's what the meeting was originally for.
Thank you, Councilor Wentz. If you remember my previous statement, that was the intention of not having them on the previous agenda. So I'm happy we're on the same page with that. If there are no further comments, I'll be moving on. I will need ask for a motion to adjourn.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? All right. 14.